Hello, folks. I know that you were waiting for us for 10 minutes and we really appreciate it. We are here again having a few technical issues, but what we do at these times, we adapt and we keep going. So I didn't really want you guys to see my messy desk, but you are anyway. Anyway, I am here with some really great minds in the real estate world, and we're going to answer some questions for you now that we're in our area a month into our stay-at-home orders. And we are trying to kind of figure out, how are we still doing business? How is the real estate market working? Is it changing the way that we are doing business, working with clients? Is it changing closings? Are people still buying and selling? These are a lot of questions that a lot of people have asked, and we're gonna get them answered here today. So I'm gonna flip this around so you guys can see my screen, and we're gonna introduce our amazing panel of experts that are here to answer your questions. If you do have any other questions, please feel free to comment, and we will make sure that we can get them answered for you here. So let me get this set up. All right, let's see how I can get you guys the best way. So bear with me as we make this work. Okay. Am I showing myself? I think that's the problem. Hold on. This might be better. All right, guys. All right, so here is our great panel of experts here today, and I'm going to get right to introducing everyone. First, we have Melanie Helmer. She is a realtor with CRG Companies in Real Estate. Hey, Melanie, how are you?
Hey, thanks, Steph.
Thanks for joining us. We have Cody Bunch from For What It's Worth Appraisals. Hey, Cody.
Hello, hey.
We have Scott Eggleston. He is the owner of Goosehead Insurance. Scott.
Morning.
Morning. Justin Ferrano, he is the owner of Rivertown Property Inspections. Justin.
Morning.
We have Brent Branham, owner and founding attorney at Tides Law Firm. Brent.
What's up?
And then we have, of course, Richard Bischoff. He is our branch manager with Revolution Mortgage. How you doing today, Richard? All right, so we'll just jump right in since we've made everyone kind of wait on us. But since this is a real estate update, I wanted to jump right over to Melanie first and just get some perspective of you. So how are you seeing the real estate market going? You know, kind of just give us an update on how things are working, you know, what clients are saying. Are you still selling? You know, how is that going?
Well, it's changed. I mean, clearly it's changed. And so we're just trying to figure out how to readjust. I was extremely busy January, February, going into March, and then it's almost as if a dimming switch kind of turned on the market, and now we're just trying to figure out how to readjust. I'm spending a lot of time just reaching out to my clients and coming more from a perspective of, you know, what can I do for you and what questions can I answer during this time. But it's definitely slowed down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, it's definitely slowed down. I mean, people are kind of trying to figure out what's going on. Richard, I wanted to check with you. I know you watch the market closely. You know, how is that affecting some things, and what's it currently doing right now?
Well, I mean, the market is, you know, it is what it is. I mean, when people have times of uncertainty, you know, they tend to slow down, withdraw, pause. You know, even if it's not the housing market, let's say it's the stock market, they're going to be hesitant. Sometimes. So that just is what it is. I think Melanie is exactly right. You know, I think everybody was off to a great start this year. 2020 was looking good. We were all writing down our goals, you know, having record years. And, you know, that doesn't mean that we're still not going to have great years and that things aren't going to bounce back. But in the meantime, right now, it definitely is a little slower. And what we're also seeing, too, from a mortgage standpoint, is that there's different requests and guideline changes with some of the investors. So even if someone wants to buy, some of the people can't buy because some of the investors are saying, hey, you know, if their place of employment's closed, we can't do a loan for them until their employment opens back up. So, I mean, we're seeing a lot of people who are applying and they're like, yeah, I want to buy something. And they're thinking, okay, well, of course, this is just temporary, you know, so I'm going to go ahead and apply. We can't close or we can't really do too much until their employment opens back up. So it is putting a hold on stuff. Some people, they're making that decision to hold off. Some people, the guidelines are making that decision for them to kind of hold off and not move forward. But I mean, we are still seeing a lot of people refinance because the interest rates are still near historic lows. People who their jobs aren't affected, we're seeing them purchase because it's still a great time to purchase a house. If anything is slightly shifted towards the buyer's market. I don't like to speak for realtors and what the market is and stuff like that, but it was a little bit more geared from what I heard from realtors. It was more geared towards the seller market for a bit. And then now because, the supply and demand and the buyers have not been buying as fast, it's slowly kind of turned in their favor. So in that sense, if I'm a buyer and I have the money and a secure job, I'm not going to miss out on the house that I want. I'm not going to hold off on something, that is the biggest purchase of my life that, I'm in love with. But I mean, people do tend to slow down when this type of things happen.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Cody, I wanted to check with you on, has the pandemic affected like home values at all? I mean, I know you guys have been doing still a decent amount of appraisals, more on the refi side, but is it affecting that in any way?
Not as of yet. And that's kind of a big question we've been getting asked. Right now, a big part of our business is refinances, because obviously, as everyone else has said, the purchases have kind of slowed down a little bit. And the things that were kind of in the pipeline have kind of come to a kind of a sluggish end. But those home values, we're not really seeing that yet. Nothing has really had enough time to affect the market, to affect value. We are adding statements. It's kind of a national thing to add a statement into each appraisal, just explaining that as of right now, no values have been affected, but we can't really tell the future. And so, 2 months from now, after we kind of start coming out of this, hopefully, it'll be kind of hard to tell until then what values have been affected. But as of right now, we're not really seeing that because obviously we're going off of the last, say, 12 months or so, which were, obviously good months for sales, especially, from the middle of last year until the beginning of this year, we had a pretty good real estate market. And so we were seeing a good increase in home value and that kind of thing. So as of right now, we're not seeing that. But we probably will see it over the next few months as things have slowed down over the last month or so. Yeah,
I'm sure. And then, Scott, I wanted to ask you just kind of the state of insurance in a general. Is it affecting, homeowners insurance? Is it affecting, the business side of things? Can we get interruption insurance? How does that work?
Yeah, as far as insurance goes, and rates are concerned, it's not really going to affect home rates too much, just because they're really centered around, natural disasters. Particularly in South Carolina, your biggest one, wind and hail. That's your biggest loss here. So they're not really too concerned about any sort of virus situation. Nice thing about some auto insurers, so obviously people aren't really driving, so you see, Progressive, Travelers, Allstate, some of those, they're giving some of those premiums back, during, April and May, because I say they're saving a lot of money. They're saving billions in losses. So, that just kind of tells you how many bad drivers are out there. But and as far as, like some question I get from, some of my customers that own a business, we're personal lines, some auto, umbrella, but, we do step into business a little bit. And people ask me about business interruption insurance. And, does the coronavirus apply to that? Speaking generally, it does not apply to business interruption. You really need to have, actual property damage like you would get from a, thunderstorm or, hurricane, something like that.
Okay. Well, that's good to hear. Especially if, I never even thought about that with insurance and driving, that it would be going down because nobody's on the roads. That makes so much sense. I was like,
oh, yeah,
hopefully I get that check back here soon. Because I know I'm not going anywhere. Well, I want to kind of figure out kind of how this is affecting, our industry in a whole and how it's changing the way that we're working with our customers. So Cody and Justin, with inspections and appraisals, you guys are used to working closely with homeowners and in people's homes. So how is this kind of affecting what you're doing? And I wanted to get Justin, if you want to speak on this first, how you guys are kind of adjusting to what's going on.
One of the measures that we've taken is we got all of our inspectors certified with the COVID safe precautions. So each one has been certified, and it just pretty much states, wearing the proper PPE, Keep a safe distance, from clients. We ask if the clients aren't feeling good to stay home. And, more importantly, we want to show, the people that are occupying the homes that we're treating their home, in a very safe manner. So that, that's gone a long way. When somebody shows up to do an inspection, they're wearing the gloves and, masks and booties and, protecting the inspector, but also, the occupants or the agent or the client, if they attend the inspection.
I mean, that's awesome. I know I was going to say if they have the option to just even hang out in the backyard, I feel like that would probably even make your job that much easier. How about you, Cody? I mean, similar?
Very similar. Increasing the use of PPE, ensuring that our equipment is being sanitized between each property, asking homeowners to turn all the lights on, open all the doors for us, and if possible, they can step outside. Some people, and Justin can attest to this, don't want you in their house by yourself. So sometimes you do have that issue. So when we do kind of come to that, we will allow for, if possible, one homeowner to stay in the house. And they can walk with us, but we ask that they try to stay that social distancing, give us that 6 feet. And other than that, there are some options out there for exterior only. So no contact appraisals is what they're calling it for the most part. And those options are out there. However, they're only available for certain loan types. And because we are seeing so many things like cash out refis and those kind of things, that product is not available for cash out refis usually. Because obviously if a lender is going to be doing a cash out refi, they really want to see that inside of that house to ensure what they're giving that cash for, basically. So there are some other options out there, but when they're not available, we are trying to increase PPE, and then, of course, that social distancing and being sanitary as possible as far as our employees go. And then when we do call, we do kind of screen through to make sure that whoever is there hasn't been traveling outside the state, being in contact with other people. If they've had symptoms of being sick or any of those kind of things, we do try to postpone those appointments and push them out if possible.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, anything you can do virtual or, is great for your employees as well as the homeowners that you guys are working for. Melanie, I wanted to ask you, I know that I was kind of looking through some things that you've done in the past. You have been doing virtual showings and working with clients from out of town for a while and seeing, the importance of being able to, work through that. I imagine that has come in handy a lot. Are you doing a lot of that now or, helping coach other realtors through the virtual side of things to keep business moving forward?
And in my business, I've actually, I have actually sold homes before just via video. So I'm very comfortable with that, utilizing either, FaceTime or actual going in and filming and sending it that way and answering questions. So it's very comfortable to me to do that. It's just that you've got to have the client on the other side that is comfortable making that type of purchase. And in the earlier cases, the reason, the why they had to purchase via a distance and with that trust level was the motivating factor. So now it's a little different. So it just depends on how essential that purchase is right now. But people understand where we are, and we're all just trying to pivot and recreate. And certainly I am utilizing more of that virtual tour. And I've had a couple of clients of my listings, they're nervous about having people in the home, which I certainly understand. And so the question is, do I keep it on the market and let the home continue to sit with adding to those average days on the market, or do I take it off and remove it? And so we've had to kind of go through each scenario and decide what's best for that particular case.
Yeah, I mean, just as a follow-up question to that, I didn't think about that. Like, when do you think that that'll come when people are looking at homes here in the next coming months? Should this be lifted soon? And they're going back to looking at homes and everything. Are they going to take that into consideration, the time spent on the market due to the pandemic? I mean, how does it look when you take it on and off? Like, how does that work?
I think if you remove the house, people are buying. Now, that buyer pool is obviously less than a typical market, but people are buying. So if you remove the house, you're removing it from the market. So if you can keep it on, I would suggest keeping it on, especially if the home is not owner occupied. There's no reason to remove it. And I think it's common sense that when we look at the average day on the market, we're going to all take into factor that we're in the middle of a situation that is not just affecting South Carolina. It's not affecting the United States. It's a global situation. And so it's really, we're in uncharted territories, but I think we're all just adjusting as we possibly can.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, the pool may be smaller, but the pool is mainly people who are serious. You're not just,
Right.
Kind of looking or thinking that they can do it. So even if that's, you have a saturated market and there's all these people looking and only a few are buying, now you only have a few looking and buying. So, you can dedicate a little bit more time to them. So I'm sure your clients appreciate that. Brett, for you, I mean, legal paperwork and what you're doing with closings, that's super personal and a lot of times has to be done in person. I mean, obviously you can do some drive-by closings, or how does that working for you?
Yeah, so we've changed things to make it more convenient for the client. The reason that we're having an issue with this is because the notary statute in South Carolina requires the physical presence of the notary. The client basically has to be in the physical presence of the notary per the statute. And so the issue with that is that, you have people, you can't stop people from coming to see you. Some states have adopted what's called the RON statute. RON statute stands for Remote Online Notarization, which allows a client to notarize online. The attorney can be video conferenced in along with the notary, and that's how the documents are being completed. South Carolina doesn't have that. We have a physical presence requirement, which is terrible for this situation because you either if I have the possibility of getting the coronavirus from another person, say someone from New York or New Jersey who's coming down here, from a state that has a more prevalence of the issue, or the opposite, which is I could be giving the virus to somebody else. There's that possibility. So the physical presence requirement really is a detriment to the closing process. One of the things that we're doing to help to facilitate social distancing while completing this statutory requirement of us being in physical presence, I'm not joking. I'm literally having people sign right there. So I have people sign right outside my window. They're in my physical presence. I still meet the statutory requirement while also having social distancing, which is nice on sunny days, not so much, as yesterday where you got to pick between a tornado and coronavirus. But, we're trying to facilitate as best we can under the circumstances, but we are seeing difficulties there. I've got a client right now who lives in New York, and they have no notary that they can go to. Excuse me, it's in Pennsylvania. We talked about this. Mm-hmm. They're in Pennsylvania, and there's no notaries available. And so he wants to do a mail-away closing, but there's nobody who can attest to his signature. And so we're just kind of, unfortunately at this moment, there's a conundrum that we have to figure out. There's been industries that have been lobbying for RON statutes for a long time to be adopted in South Carolina. It just hasn't been adopted yet, and it's been a detriment here for coronavirus, specifically for closings. There's been some good stuff that's come out of it, though, in relationship to the legal industry, because I'm sure that you guys have seen this, from the lender side and also from the agent side. Documents are getting recorded faster now than they've ever been recorded, because the Register of Deeds office, just to give you a background as to what the process is, whenever we get completed with docs, whether it's signing for a mortgage or signing for a deed, we physically take those. It's been the standard practice for many attorneys to physically take those documents down to the courthouse through a courier. Then they give it to their abstractor. Their abstractor literally takes it to a window where the Register of Deeds office, where they're taking in documents, they take the physical document and then they put it through their recording process. they only had one employee. The county of Horry only had one employee who was designated to online electronic recording. And so if you submitted a document electronically, it could take hours in order for that document to be recorded. Now that's completely changed. Every single employee at the ROD who's dealing with the recording is focusing on electronic recording because that's the only way we could submit it because the courthouse is closed to the general public. So now documents are getting recorded in like 10 minutes, 30 minutes from recording. So that is a positive aspect. I hope that the county continues this even after coronavirus has subsided so that we can continue to make this a better transition for the market to do electronic recording for most attorneys. So that has been a positive aspect of it, which is a good thing. But that's kind of how, at least in the immediacy of it, that's how physical closings have been affected, both positively and negatively.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Richard, are you seeing some of the same? I mean, I know we've been doing a lot of, everything is virtual right now.
Yeah, I mean, because we deal with a lot of out-of-state buyers here, because a lot of people are buying second homes or investment properties. We're used to doing mail-away closings. There's a lot of buyers that we just never even see from a mortgage standpoint. They might come down and see Melanie as a realtor to show houses, and then they go back up north, but they don't come back down, for us to meet them. So as a lender, and I know for insurance, you guys rarely ever see your people. And the same for a lot of other people. We're used to that. So I think the big thing is what's the disruption? And like Brett was saying, without having a notary to sign, well, that's going to be an issue for that one borrower. Or the disruption that we're seeing now, someone wants to buy, but right now they're temporarily laid off, and they might not go back for 4 weeks. So now that whole purchase is on hold. So now the seller has to decide, do they want to extend the contract and stay in contract with this person so then in 4 weeks they can close, or they want to get rid of that contract since they can't close within the 30 days that was on the contract. So, we're going to see stuff that we haven't seen before. But like Brett said, it allows people to come out and get more innovative and for things to change that probably should have been changed a while ago. So we'll see some good come out of this. But I think the biggest thing is the uncertainty. We know it's temporary, but we don't know a time frame on that temporary. It's like, is it temporary 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 4 months? I think if people had an understanding and there's a definite time, people would breathe, they relax, they would have an idea. But the fact that there's not a specific time that we know that this is going to go away or that things are going to get back to normal, that uncertainty is causing people to freeze a little bit.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Brett.
Can I add a little bit to that? So one of the things, Richard, we can have a discussion about this as well, is one of the aspects one of the questions I get a lot from agents, and this deals between you and I. Some people might not be familiar with the process, but the attorney and the lender work together very closely to get a package done. The lender is doing their origination, the attorney is getting their file opened, and then title's requested. After a title request is sent over, title is ordered, and then you guys are waiting for title from us. Right. And, that's another aspect that's hindering closings is that right now, because the courthouse is closed to the general public, there was a brief period of time where the courthouse was closed to abstractors. The courthouse has now been opened on a limited basis to abstractors. Just to give you an idea, there's roughly 40 abstractors, I believe, in the county. But right now, they're only allowing 4 abstractors at a time for 2-hour increments to enter into the courthouse to a limited access for the physical documents. So that means at any one time, one abstractor is getting basically 25% of the time during a day to get title searches done. So what we're seeing is that most of the abstractors are actually doing the title searches online as best they can, because the way that this database is set up for the county online is that there's only a certain amount of years available online. So I believe it's 1984. Deeds go back to mortgages go back, I believe, to the 90s. Liens go back to the early 2000s. And so there's limited information available. Most of the searches can get done, and if the real estate agents ask their clients if the seller has a title policy, if one of the ways that we can speed up the transaction and make things smoother is if we ask the seller if they have a title policy, because then the search goes from like a 40-year standard residential search to an up from owner search, because we know that the owner has a title policy, and insurance wise, the property has already been insured up to the point that the seller has received the property. So that's one recommendation that we're giving to clients, buyers, sellers, is that the first question that we should ask in a transaction is, does the seller have a title policy? Because if they do, that speeds up the title search and can possibly avoid other issues that can result from lack of information available in a title search. So that's, Richard, have you seen that there's any delays? Are you seeing any delays there on the title side? Are you guys getting title back in later or sooner? Have you seen anything in relationship to that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely later, and the same with that and appraisals. I mean, Cody's always on vacation, so he's just, is not getting those appraisals, right? But no, I mean, we've seen them go from, for a little while we were getting some stuff back in 4 or 5 days. Then it became like a week, then a week and a half, and then 2 weeks, which it is what it is, especially on the appraiser side. I mean, they're just super busy. On the abstractor side, like you're saying, they're just having limited access. So, like, we have one, we could have had a file clear to close yesterday, but we're still waiting on that title work because they're still waiting on the abstractor. So yeah, I mean, we are seeing a little bit. Now, granted, as there's less and less deals coming through in May, because we all know, obviously, May is going to be slower than April, then they'll have more time to catch up, and then hopefully by that time, everything's opened back up. So, it won't be so bottlenecked. But yeah, we're definitely seeing a slight delay.
I think a lot of times when people ask me in relationship to timing, they say, okay, on a lender side, an agent might ask as they're in preparation for a contract, I've got a lender on my side. What's a good time estimate? Before we were seeing basically 30-day turnarounds. I think a lot of people were giving that estimate to say 30 days. I've seen who have said, what, difficulties of the situation, let's make that estimate about 45 days. Richard, what do you think is a good estimate for agents whenever they're giving an estimate for when closing can happen?
A lot of it depends on the buyer. I do my job as a lender. I try to documents as much as I can up front. I try to get the pay stubs and bank statements. If I have everything up front, so that when Melody gives, as a realtor, a contract, I can send that file to underwriting same day. So we're not waiting. See, a lot of times lenders, they don't ask for anything up front. They just send the pre-qualification, so that when a realtor sends them a contract, now they got to go get all the documents. It could take the borrower a week to get them everything they need. And then that wastes a week into the contract. Also, sometimes realtors will sit on the contract for days because they're waiting for a signature from the seller who might have went out of town. So they had the contract date or the closing date set when they originally wrote the contract, but then it's been 4 or 5 days that they actually get all the signatures and sent to us. So then we lose time that way. So if we don't lose any time, 30 days is still fine. However, because of those little situations and because of the fact that there's not an extension built into the contract anymore, we say, hey, go ahead, put the 45 days on there. But if there's a sooner date you want to shoot for, let us know. And we'll put that sooner date in our system. We'll shoot for that date, but go ahead and put a little longer date as long as everybody understands, hey, we're dealing in, weird times and we're going to do the best we can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. And I know, Scott, we had talked a little bit about, kind of changing the way you're doing business in general and like the people that you're going after for business.
Yeah, so a lot of our business is focused on working with, people like Melanie and Richard, to where we get a lot of our leads, and our business is really kind of centered towards that. Service department is very lender friendly, but so it kind of forces us to shore up some of our other, lead generation, ways, customer referrals, do we expand our territory out? Do we, really hyper focus on neighborhoods? So all the cards are on the table, and it's really good time to kind of take a look at, what we do, so we can, if something like this happen again, are we better suited to kind of, battle through that? So it's been interesting. It's a good time to be creative, and it's actually a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, that's good. I was like, if you're taking that like stance and having that positivity about how can we grow this even more? Now, that business will come around, right? I mean, when this, pandemic comes to an end and, will grow continually, but then you can add other streams for your business. It just ends up in a bigger positive all around. I wanted to get from all of you. I mean, I know you guys are talking to your clients every day, and people are calling you and asking you for advice of what they should do. I want to kind of find out, just because of the people that are watching, what are some of the common questions or concerns that you're hearing from? I don't know who, if, Brett, you want to go first? I mean, you're used to giving advice to people, I'm sure, on all different aspects. But what are people specifically asking you in this time frame?
A lot of people are dealing with the difficulties. Number one is helping. I try to explain this to people all the time. Not only are we dealing with extraordinary times, but our state is so much different from every other state because we're an attorney state. So even when we're not dealing with coronavirus, one of the first things that I do is I reach out to my clients and explain the closing process to them because it's so different from what they're used to already. Now with coronavirus, everybody's going through this unique situation at the same time. So I feel like people are more patient, which is a good thing. People are more patient with the closing process because they understand that there's going to be delays or that there's difficulties. So number one is explaining the process to the clients to make them as comfortable as possible, because we all know this, that because of these extraordinary times, I feel like clients are a little bit more on edge. That they're a little bit more, there's lack of information out there. And so they're kind of in the dark. And so any information that we can provide them, communicating up front to help them understand the process, will make the transition for them better, because we're still all seeking for the same goal, which is for our clients to have, number one, to close real estate deals, but to have our client have a good experience in the transaction. And that's hard to do whenever you have so many aspects that are working against you. So the number one thing for me is always communicating to the client up front and setting good expectations to help them know the process. This includes, the client speaking to the attorney, letting them know how the closing process is different, working with them more closely to know, also timing issues, and then also just document needs. So that's kind of always the biggest issue for me, because numbers wise, typically we see a slowdown in the wintertime, even if it's just slightly. So the numbers that I'm seeing is basically we got a little spoiled because the demand in our area is so great. That demand is still there. I think Melanie was saying this when we were talking earlier, is that, they're housing wise, there's still a desire for people to be here. But for Corona, I think that we would be seeing there wouldn't have been a dip in the market for us residentially. So the demand is still there. It's just helping our clients, meet expectations. I'm seeing numbers wise, I'm seeing more around the wintertime of what we typically see. So there's still deals going through. That's the other thing that I think a lot of agents ask me about is what's the perspective on how the market will be. And Richard, I think that you said this earlier. I do think that there's still a demand here. And so I do think that we're going to see, once the coronavirus, we kind of get this handled and there's more confidence there and we have a strategic path moving forward, we're going to see a rebound in the market quickly, rather than something that will take, 6 months. It's going to be a matter of weeks to maybe a month or so. I think that the demand's going to go back up. So those two aspects, communicating to clients, helping them understand the process, and then having hope that there's still a demand here. The South is a beautiful area. There's still the demand for people to come here. They just can't.
Right, yeah. Well, and Melanie, if you want to continue that conversation, because I know we talked about this before.
I agree. I think we have got the most incredible area here. The location, the quality of life, our low taxes. We are such a desirable place to be. And I think, if anything, I do completely agree that our market is going to rebound. And I don't think it's anything like the 2008 dip. I think it's going to be a quick rebound. I think, as Richard said earlier, we just don't know when that moment's going to be. Is it going to be 2 weeks, 4 weeks, a month, 2 months? We don't know. But when it happens, I think we're going to rebound quickly. And I think also, in speaking with my buyers, and we are such a draw, but we draw from the Northeast so strongly. When I speak to my buyers, what I'm hearing from them is they're going to get off the fence. They've been considering that move to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina for a long time. And I think this is making them realize, time is short, and where do I want to be? And this is where I want to be. And so I'm just going to see, I predict we're going to see a lot of fence sitters just get off the fence, and they're going to make that move. So I think we're poising ourselves for a really good and strong, upcoming market.
Yeah, I agree.
That's also what I'm telling my sellers too. And then as far as the seller's perspective, those that are sitting there on the fence as well, I'm getting ready to put my house on the market. I'm having a lot of consultations with them. Well, what can you be doing during this time? This is a great time to get that house ready. Let's clean out those closets, clean out the drawers, declutter, take care of those, that punch list of items. Let's have your house ready for the market when we get through all this. So I'm having a lot of consultations, talking to sellers about how to use this time wisely.
Yeah. Well, I know when we first did our first update on here, we had talked about, those that are, up north and they're in the bigger cities, they're going to be looking, since they are now been on such a tight quarters, they want to get out and kind of be able to breathe. And where better to breathe than down here at the beach, right?
Absolutely.
And, if you didn't love your house before you were stuck in it for a month so far, you're going to be ready to nitpick it, and you have time to research the area, and our area definitely is desirable. I wanted to get some more input from you guys. I don't know if Scott, you want to talk about kind of the clients that are coming to you. What are they asking? What kind of advice are they asking you?
Yeah, so a lot of the clients that I'm getting right now are kind of what we talked about a little bit earlier. You get some sight unseen folks, some content. A little concerned about hearing in their voice. And so kind of what I tell them is, hey, listen to your realtor, listen to your lender. These are professionals that I know you haven't done this a lot, but this is what they do. So just kind of trust them in that process. That kind of helps put at ease. And I know all the, particularly people like Melanie and Richard, they're professionals in what they do. So they'll get it done, in the right way. And then the other thing I tell clients, this is a great time to kind of take a look at your risk portfolio. My job is to help you manage your risk. Some are more comfortable with, like a 5% hurricane deductible. They may have the funds to kind of take care of that and, use that lower premium. Some folks, I'd like to kind of see them, lower that a little bit, just because they may not be able to take care of that in the event of, a hurricane, something like that. So I want people to take a look at it, make sure they have the right coverages, for their level of risk that they want to take on.
Yeah, for sure. And Cody, I want to ask you, people obviously right now, even concerned with their own property or potentially buying a property that it's sight unseen. What advice are you giving them on that level?
It kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier a little bit. People are still concerned as far as how this is going to affect their values. And that's kind of one of those things, like I said, we can't really predict what their value is going to be in a few months. But as of right now, their value is still holding pretty strong. And from what, we've been looking at the market and that kind of stuff from our standpoint, and I agree with everyone else as far as, I believe once everything is kind of back to a normalcy, we will see a really quick rebound, which will be good for the market. And so I don't think we'll really see much of a dip. I think that what we'll see is what we typically see here in the wintertime, where in the winter months, your home values typically be a little bit lower because you don't have as many people shopping for houses then. And so I think we will probably see that in those coming, I guess, in towards May timeframe. But we'll see there are some lower home values in those months. But as the market, as a whole, I don't think it's really going to affect the market as a whole lot. So we've been trying to reassure people in that way, obviously without making promises. But, just trying to reassure people that the market should be fine and that their home values as of now are not really going to be affected a whole lot.
That's good. And then Justin, for you, we had talked a little bit about getting those punch list things done, stuff like that. And then when you're going through your inspections, people I'm sure are like, what do we do? How do we do these inspections? What advice are you giving them?
So we've, as far as the clients reaching out to us, it's mostly about safety concerns. It doesn't really affect the structure of a home. So, and most of the time the agents, prep the clients prior to speaking to us. So we have, I'd say, more limited contact than the rest of you guys, with clients. But we've actually had more owners in our industry reach out to us and ask questions as far as, being creative. How can I be creative? How can I offer more services? And that's something that we've done really well, is offered more services, more geared towards lenders and agents. And that's part of the reason why we're keeping our schedule, pretty full, is not just for the home inspections, but the other services that are being offered. And we have a company rolling out next week that's going, tend to listing agents and listing services. So I feel like right now, just being as creative as possible to keep your guys busy and, provide food on their tables is, very important.
Yeah, for sure. Being able to still provide the work, and when your employees look to you, like, are we closing? Are we going home? Like, am I going to be able to feed my family? And you can say confidently, yes, we're going to work through this. We're going to work together and get creative. And so you're opening a new business in the wake of all this? Is that a teaser?
Well, it's called Listing Pros, and we're looking at installing and storing signs for listing agents on listings. We're looking at some options with offering like Matterport and dimensions on homes. So pretty much just kind of circle that whole corner of the market to be able to tend to the agent's needs. I mean, that's what our line of business is.
Right. And that's awesome. I mean, especially now they're, working so closely with a lot of their homeowners, and maybe not like virtually, you can get some of that other stuff done for them. That's awesome. So congratulations on that. That's great. I love seeing the positive out of something like this, where you can continue to grow, and just like Scott, you're looking to see where else you can find business, how else you can service the community and the business partners that you have. So that's awesome. Richard, do you have some advice for people that have been calling us?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, don't make rush decisions. Don't over exaggerate the situation. Don't make it worse than it is, or don't take too light into it. I mean, if someone's buying an investment property, that's a long-term play. So this really shouldn't stop them. I mean, if they're really thinking about buying an investment property that's going to make them money, this 1 month, 2 month, or even if it went to 4 month little pandemic, or not, I shouldn't say that, but what's going on shouldn't stop them from an investment that's going to be a long-term, investment for them. Same thing if someone's buying a second home, they obviously have the money. So as long as they weren't hit financially because of this, if they could afford it, maybe they should still buy the second home. Now more than ever, to be able to just escape and get a vacation and get out there. Same thing as a primary residence. If someone has a secure job and their job hasn't been affected by this, it's still a great time to go and buy that primary residence. From a refi, I had a lady call me yesterday about a refi, and she said, act like I'm a sister or a family member, and give me the advice you would give me a family member. Should I refinance? And I said, I was like, I'll be honest with you. I turned away 2 refinances, but I have 5 I'm doing this month. And the reason I turned away those 2 is because they said they were planning on selling within a year to 2 years. And by the time you roll in those closing costs, you still have attorney's fees and lender's fees and appraisal fees and all these different things. If you're going to have those fees wrapped into your mortgage, let's say it's $4,000 combined, then you're not going to recoup that money and saving $100 a month. So, and I was like, as much as I'd love to do the deal for you, it wouldn't make sense for them to do it, and they appreciated that. But I will say that I had more leads yesterday than I did all of last week, and that just goes to show me that people, I think, because now we're a month in, I think a lot of people feel like we're kind of, if not coming out the end of it, close to the middle of it, and that it probably shouldn't be another 4 weeks possible. I'm not saying that for sure. I feel like people are starting to be like, okay, it's been 4 weeks. The world's not completely dying or shutting down or whatever. Like, I'm still functioning. So for a lot of people, I feel like maybe they're not being as frozen. They're like, let me start this process, whether it's a refinance or a purchase. So I just tell people, hey, listen, if it's something that you're really wanting to do and you can do it and your job's secure and you financially can do it, don't let it stop you. You might be able to get a great deal, or you don't want to miss out on the house. I think another good thing that's coming out of this is that it's bringing us all back to, our roots to a certain extent of the fundamentals of business. And when the market's good, even bad salespeople or bad companies will succeed, right? Because you just got to answer the phone. The market's good. Now that the market kind of slows down, it kind of weeds out a lot of those with bad service or people who aren't going above, so it kind of brings back customer service. It brings back that personal touch. It brings back empathy, and this is the biggest purchase of people's lives, and a lot of times we're in this industry, so we just go through the motion. It's another deal. It's another thing. But to that individual, they don't want to hear how busy you are or why things are taking long because you're so busy. Like, hey, it's my loan. It's my purchase. Like, focus on me. And so it allows us to kind of get back to that. And I think for a lot of employees, how their employers respond to this situation and treat them and care about them is going to say a lot about a lot of companies. So I think this whole situation is going to really bring out the best in a lot of people, but the people who aren't the best and the people who aren't doing what they're supposed to do, they'll kind of get, filtered out, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree with that for sure. Well, we're kind of coming through close here. You guys all gave some really great advice. Does anybody have some last tips that they'd like to share? And then I actually would like to go around and let you guys give your contact information. So if anyone out there is in need of any of your services, they know where to reach you. So I don't know if Cody, you want to go first?
Sure. So our office is for what it's worth appraisals. We're at 1136 44th Avenue North. Again, right now, we would like for no one to come in the office. However, that is our physical location. Our phone number is 843-808-1533. Our email address is info@fwiwa.com.
Okay.
And feel free to contact us. We have a full staff of roughly 7 appraisers. Full office staff, so we can pretty much handle a good sized volume, and we serve all of Horry and Georgetown County.
Okay, great. Melanie?
Yeah, I'm with CRG Company. Their office is located just a couple of doors down from the Fresh Market. I am, of course, working from home. I can be reached on my cell phone at 843-602-7564. And I do service, Horry, Georgetown County. And I'm just taking this time to kind of regroup and enjoy family and connect with my neighborhood in a way that I think has been exciting. And I think if anything is coming out of this, I think it's a real sense of community. And I just, we have a very special community here in Myrtle Beach, both professionally and personally. And so I'm feeling really excited about this, and I'm looking forward to the other side.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, people have come together in our community like no other, and I think it's going to bode well for us, and we're going to come out on the other side a lot stronger for sure. Justin, you want to give your where we can reach you?
So Rivertown Property Inspections, and our number is 843-360-4354. Our email address is info@rivertowninspects.com. We also service, Horry and Georgetown counties.
Okay.
And we've got 4 inspectors now.
Wow, that's great. Scott?
Yeah, I appreciate y'all having me. Outstanding information from everybody on here. And you can find me on Facebook, Goosehead Insurance, Scott Eggleston. Find me on Instagram at GooseheadMB. You can also give me a call at 843-492-6902. And email is scott.eggleston@goosehead.com.
All right, fantastic. And Richard, we can find you.
Yeah, you guys can find me on Facebook and Instagram, sometimes hanging out at Branham's office just because he's fun to hang out with. My cell is 843-222-8368, and we're located near 45th and King in that new Magnolia Road Plaza.
All right, fantastic. And Brett, last minute advice, or how can we reach you?
Have hope.
Yes.
Have hope. It'll fill your soul with happiness instead of fear. But Brett Branham, Tide Law Firm, give us a buzz, 843-492-0101. Email me, brett@tidelawfirm.com. Check us out on Facebook at Go With The Tide, Tide, right with the tide.
And do you have a new song coming out?
Yeah, right now. Yes, might put me a beat down. No, okay, nobody put a beat down.
I can do it. Richard, drop a beat there.
Oh man, I tell you what, I gotta go check on the kids.
We got me on Zoom. Coronavirus got us feeling like doom, but we got that hope, so keep your head up high. And before you know it, we're gonna fly sky high.
Boom. I don't know how else to end that. That was fantastic.
Awesome.
So next week I'm just going to get a Zoom and it's just going to be me just praising what Brett's going to drop down because that's awesome. Thank you all so much for joining us. I really appreciate you sharing your information with us and the community. And we appreciate all that you're doing to keep business going and moving forward in the real estate business and moving people here and moving people around here to better areas so that they can live in a home that, maybe they're not picking apart while they're sitting here and being quarantined. And I appreciate all that have jumped on watching. Even through our technical difficulties, we were able to manage through and do things. So we appreciate it. And I just ask everyone to check our Facebook pages out and our Instagram. We will be going live again on Thursday with another meeting with Extraordinary Minds. We're going to give an update on the hospitality industry again. We've got some great business owners that have really started to pivot and are supporting the community in big ways. And then we have a whole new business that has come out of the pandemic that's changing the way that we are buying our groceries. So we're excited about that. So just come live again here at 9:10 on the Carolina Revolution Myrtle Beach Facebook page. Hope you all have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your week and stay safe. Bye, y'all. Thank you for joining us.
Bye, guys.